Hi everyone, how is it going? And today we are going to learn Socket.io. We are following the official website of Socket.io so we can learn all the step by step which the official website has guided to us. So we will be following the documentation. So if you want to follow documentation by yourself, then feel free to do that. Otherwise, I am doing the step by step, and you will learn a lot of things while watching this tutorial, and you will be able to do all the steps which I will do. And yeah, that is basically it, and it is a cool stuff. And you know the importance of Socket.io, and let's start learning it. So let's click on start, and you can see that all of this stuff are given here. You can go in any section you want, but we will be doing all of this step by step, so you will understand a lots of concept while watching this tutorial. So the first section is our introduction to Socket.io. So it is all about the getting started. Welcome to the Socket.io tutorial. In this tutorial, we will create a basic chat application. It's required almost no basic prior knowledge of Node.js or Socket.io. So it's ideal for users of all knowledge levels. If we talk about Socket.io, writing a chat application with popular web applications stacks like LAMP PHP has normally been very hard. It involves pulling the server for changes, keeping track of timestamps, and it is a lot slower than it should be. Socket.io have traditionally been the solution around which most real-time chat systems are architected, providing a biconditional communication channel between a client and a server. This means that the server can push messages to the client. Whenever you write a chat message, the idea is that the server will get it and push it to the other connected client. So, how to use this tutorial? Tooling any text editor from text editor to a complete ID such as VS Code should be sufficient to this to complete this tutorial. In this tutorial, I am using the VS Code, so feel free to use any code editor you want. And additionally, at the end of each step, you will find a link to some online platforms like Sandbox, Code Sandbox, and Stabbies, and Namely, and allowing you to run the code directly from your browser. So it is the interface which we are going to create, and in this you can see that a simple backend is written to display the hello world, and it is just the basic concept. However, we will be creating a chat application, so you will learn a lot of stuff step by step. However, it is the introductory section, so you will be are introducing by some of the core functionality of this application, and in the other steps we will be building the application orally, so thoroughly, not step by step. So syntax setting. In the Node.js world, there are two ways to import modules. The standard way is ECMAScript modules, or ESM, like this import server from the socket.io. The references are from here, but feel free to get to use about these all of this stuff, because when we have to do code, I will be doing the codes when it will be required to when we start this project, and we will be doing code along the tutorial. So for now we don't require any coding, and that's why I'm just displaying you these code, and it is how these code are using and why it is using. And the legacy was a common JS. In that type of legacy, we have to declare a server, and it will be required, and it will be coming from socket.io. However, it is the tradition, it is the latest um, it is using nowadays, and it is just skipped, and it is old version of importing our stuff. So socket.io support both syntax. You can code along like this or this, not matter which level of knowledge you have. If you want to use the common.js features, you can also do that. But if you want to use the latest version of ESM syntax in your project, then feel free to do that, because it doesn't show any error. So in the next section, we will start our project by initializing the project. So that will be our first step towards our Studio Socket.io chat app project. So let's go. So let's go towards our first step, which is the initialization of our project. The first goal is to set up a simple HTML web page that server out of form and list of messages. We are going to use the Node.js web framework express to this end, and make sure Node.js is installed. So you can install it from here. First, let's create a package.json. So for that, we just have to copy this, and we have to create a folder here, which will be socket chat example. I will remove it to socket chat app, but feel free to use any name you want. And after that, we have to open a code editor. In my case, I am using Visual Studio Code, but feel free to use any ID you want, and drag and drop this folder inside our Visual Studio, and we can do the stuff line by line. So first of the stuff is to create a package.json. So the name will be package.json, and just enter here, and we just have to copy this code, which is the information of our project, about the information of our project. The name of our project is socket chat app, and the version will be is 0.01, but feel free to change it also. And the description is my first socket.io app, and the type will be modules, because we are using modules, not the common.js. It is the common.js, and you can also do that, but I am using the modules then, because it is the latest version, and everybody use modules in industry, so that's why. Here is an alert that the name property must be unique. You cannot use a value like socket.io or express, because npm will complain when installing the dependencies. So now, in order to easily populate the dependencies property with the things we need, we will use npm install. So for that, we need a server, and the server is coming from not HTTP. For accessing this server, we have to install a package which is Express, and just open your terminal in VS Code or in your ID, and just pass the code here and enter, and you will get the installation done. And after that, we can move towards the next thing, which is once it is installed, we can create an index.js file that will set up our application. So it is successfully installed, and I have just cleared the terminal, and now it's time to create a file inside our project, which will be the index.js, and it is the module which we have installed, like the express package. Don't change anything inside this, because it is a default thing, and it will be used by our backend, so it's not mandatory for us to change any stuff inside it. And we only have to change the code inside our index.js. So the code for index.js will be this, and we just have to copy this and paste it here. Here the explanation of this code. We are just importing this package from Express, and we are also importing the create server function from not HTTP, which will allow us to create a server. And we have to declare our app, which will be a function of Express, and we have a server which is coming from create server, and it will contain the app. So For basic request and response, we are just putting an HTML tag. Whenever our project will start, it will display this HTML tag, which is the hello world h1 tag. And when we start our project, the server dot listen and it will be running on the localhost 3000, and in the console this message will be pop up, which is server running at http localhost this. And we just have to copy this just because we have to open the browser and paste it in the browser, so we will see how our application is running. So this means that express initialize if to be a function handler that you can supply to an HTTP server. As seen in the line 5, we define a route handler that gets called when we hit our website home. We make the HTTP server listen on port 3000. If you run Node.js, not index.js, then you will see your project will be running. So if I write this and just press enter in the terminal, then you can see that in the console this is written as we have coded, that server running at localhost this. And if we copy this link and go to our browser and paste it here, then we will see our text of hello world, just because we have written inside our code here. So you can see that we have written hello world. So if we change something to a button, it will also work as the requirement. So I have written as click me button, but if we refresh this stuff, it will not being refreshed, just because for refreshing our server we have to go to the console and just press Control C, and after the closing our server we have to write again the not index.js. It will start our project again, and if we refresh now, then we can see here is the button which we have coded inside our index.js. So this is the main functionality, and we have successfully initialized our project. And you can see it, this type of stuff will be appear on your terminal. But if you don't get this type of terminal message, then check out stuff again and retry again, and it will be resolved. And if you point your browser to localhost as we have done here, like we have put it localhost 3000, and it will just display the hello world, but we have changed the text to a button, and now our browser is displaying click me button as we have coded. So in the next section we will be focusing on the next functionality, which will be the server HTML stuff. So for now the first step is completed, which is the initialization of project, and we have successfully done it. So let's move toward the next step. Step 2, serving HTML. So far in index.js, we are calling response.send and passing it to a string of HTML. You can see here response.send, and it is sending the HTML. Our code looks very confusing if we just passed our entire application HTML there. So instead we are going to create a index.html file and serve that instead. Let's refactor our route and a route handler to use send file. So let's customize by doing that stuff. So you can see that the stuff we have to include are just highlighted by the color of green. So we just have to copy this stuff which is highlighted by green by the official website, and now we have to copy this and paste it below this import. So this is the file URL to path, and it is also coming from node URL, and in the second will be the directory name and the joining, and it is also coming from the node path. So these are the two things we have to include to make our code functional. And now we are putting another line of code which is just declaring our name of our file. So you can read out the stuff by yourself and you will learn a lots of concepts. And you can see that here is the suggestion of for the code, but instead of that I'm just pasting this just for you, because when you follow the documentation you will see the exact code and you will be good to go with that. So in the first line, 10th line, we are declaring a dash directory name, and it is equal to the directory name which is coming from file URL to path, and it is importing from meta URL. So it is just stuff which make our code readable, and it is just doing the implementation of our index.html into our server side. So now the server is connected with the HTML. As you can see that file are coming from index.html, and we have done the customization in our index.js. Now it's time to put the code inside our index.html. So for that we have to create an index.html file, and now we just have to copy paste this code. However, it looks like a very difficult code, but if we copy this and paste it in our index.html, then you can see that here is the whole styling of our component, and it is just a css, so we don't worry about the stuff, because if we remove this still our application will be working. But after the implementation of this css, our application looks much more good and we can good to go. So in the body section you can see that UL element is inherited, and every message will be coming inside this UL, as we have given it ID of uh, messages, and we have a form, and the form having an ID of form, and inside that form we have an input tag and a button. So these are the things which is necessary for our application, and this is just the HTML and CSS, not a functional component. So we will be making these things functional in the few minutes. So let's go towards the next step and make it functional. If you restart a process by hitting Control and C, if we open the terminal and press Control and C, then our server will be stopped and we can write clear to clear our terminal. Now and run not index.js again and refresh the page, it look like this. So our page will be changed to just like this. And if we go to our application, then you can see that our page is just putting the index. It is disconnected just because I have stopped the server. So for restarting our server, we have to write not index.js, and it will start our server. And you can see that our server is started at localhost 3000. And if we close the terminal and go to our website, and if we refresh, then you can see the interface is updated, and now we can see our application UI, and it is just removing the stuff when we click on send. It is just because we have included the input inside a form, that's why it is doing that, but it is not a functional stuff. So in the next step we will be doing the stuff. You can use this example directly in your browser on the sandbox, code sandbox, and stack blitz. So we have completed our second step, which was the serving the HTML, and now it's time to go towards the step 3, which is the integration of socket.io. So let's go. In the next step, which is the step 3, we have to do integration to socket.io inside our project. So socket.io is composed of two parts: a server that integrates with our mount on the Node.js HTTP server, the socket.io package, a client library that loads on the browser side, the socket.io client package. So during the development server, the client automatically for us as we will see so far, now we only have to install one module. We have to install socket.io. So just copy this code and paste it inside our terminal. Before that, we have to stop the terminal, so we have to press Ctrl C, and after that we have to clear the terminal and paste the code here, and it will install the socket.io package inside our project. So now that will install the module and add the dependencies to package.json. Now let's edit index.js to add it. So we have to first add the socket.io to our index.html. So let's go. Our package has been installed. So now it's time to clear the terminal by writing clear CLEAR, and after that we have to now include this code in our project. We have to include in index.js, sorry. So close this index.html, open the index.js, and now it's time to paste the code which is importing our socket.io in our project. And after that we have to declare an IO which is coming from our new server, and we have to paste it here, and you can see that we are declaring an IO variable which is having a new method, and it is coming from the server, and it is just giving the functionality of socket.io to our project. So after that we have to have another code which is just putting some message inside our console.log. So if we pass it before the our server runs, then it will be displayed on our console. So it is just putting a message that IO dot when it's on, it should be connection, and after that it will show a function, an arrow function, and it will be putting the code inside our console.log. So now I think we have done the stuff, and notice that I initialize a new instance of socket.io by passing the server, the HTTP server object. Then I can listen on the connection event for incoming socket and log it to the console. Now in index.html, add the following snippet before closing tag of our body and end body tag. So we have to just copy the script which is for just including our socket.io inside our HTML. So open this index.html and close index.js, and before the closing tag of our body tag, we have to paste the code here, and it is just allowing us our front end to connect with our back end. So that's all it. And to load the socket.io client, which exposes on IO global and get the endpoint get socket.io .js and then connect. If you like to use the local variable of the client side JS file, you can find out from this URL, but for now it's okay, and we have just passed the code, and you can also use a CDN instead of local files like this script. So it is just about that. And now notice that I am not specifying any URL when I call IO function, since it default to trying to connect to the host that serve the page. So not that if you are find if you behind a reserved proxy such as Apache or Nginx, please take a look on this documentation. If you are looking hosting your application in a folder that not the root of the website, e.g. example chat app, and then you will need to specify a path and both the server and the client. So don't worry if you don't understand anything about which I have discussed with you. Just follow along the step which I am doing, and you will get the exact result which I am getting. So if you now restart the process by hitting control and running the index.js, if we open the terminal and write the code again, which is the not index.js, then it will start our project. So now and then refresh the web page, and console will print a user connected. So it's just looks like this. It will just look like this. And if we refresh the project and go to here, then you can see that a user is connected is print display on our console. Whenever we have refresh our project, then you can see that it is updating whenever we are refreshing our project. So each socket also fires a special disconnect events. So we have to just copy this, and instead of just a connection message, we also have to include the disconnection message. So for that, we have just copy this code, and we have replaced with this code. And it is this code is displaying that when we refresh or when we open our project on another browser or another tab, the user will be connected. New user will be connected. If we close the tab, then it will be disconnected. So if we open the terminal and see a user is connected, and if I just duplicate this page and see a new user is connected, when we click on the closing tag, closing icon, then you will see another message, I hope. But I don't see any message of disconnection. Our project is disconnected. So why it is happening, let's figure out. So for that, we have to close the terminal, and by control C, and just restart our project again by writing the node index.js. And if we duplicate over this tab, then it will display a user is connected. And if we close the tab, then another message is popping up, which is the user disconnect. And we have successfully done the steps, and now our project is completed. And let's move toward the next step, which is the emitting event, which will be the step 4. So step 4 is emitting events. The main idea behind the socket.io is that you can send and receive any event you want with any data you want. Any object that can be encoded as a JSON will do, and a binary data is supported too. So let's make it so that when the user types in a message, the server gets it as a shared message event. The script section is index.html should now looks as follows. So for that, what we have to do, we have to copy this, and we have to paste it inside our index.html. So let's go to the index.html, and here we have pasted this code earlier, and now just we have to update this by putting the code which we have copied and pasted here. And it is just looks like this. And in index.js we print out the chat message event. For that, we have to copy this, and after the connection done, we have to paste it. We have to display the message. So for that, what we have to do, we just have to replace this with this. Meanwhile, it will get a message to our console.js. So if we watch the video, then we can see that if we write anything, it will be print inside our terminal. And it's just because our socket.io is not now connected with our front end, and it is also receiving messages from our backend. So that's the whole stuff which we have to implement. And after stopping this video, we have to go to our terminal and just Control C and clear it and write the not index.js. It will start our terminal. It will start our project. So if we go to our this uh, applications page, and if we refresh this, then it will display something like nothing. We have to write some message here like connect. If we send this, then you can see that the message is printing in our terminal like uh, real time chat app. If we write this, then you can see that we have successfully implemented the emitting event to our application, which was our step 4. Now we have to go to towards step 5, which is broadcasting. Step 5 is broadcasting. The next goal is for us to emit the event from the server to the rest of the users. In order to send an event to everyone, socket.io gives us the io.emit method. This will emit the event to all connected sockets. So for that, we have to copy this and we have to go to our app, and here we have to paste. Where we have to paste, I don't know for now. So let's move toward the next thing, which is if you want to send a message to everyone except for a certain image socket, we have the broadcast flag for emitting that socket. So we can emit the broadcast from here, and it is a function for that. And in this case, for the sake of simplicity, we will send the message to everyone including the sender. So we have to copy this and paste it again. Before that, we have to move towards the next thing. And if we see there, here we have already implemented the stuff, but here's some more customization in our code, so we have to copy this and paste it here. So I think it will work perfectly. And if we go to our top, and it is just the same code as we have required, but for now we have just done the stuff which is required for our code. And now in on the client side, when we capture a chat message event, we will include it in the patch. So for that, we have to copy this code and paste it after our input variable. So now it is just same as it is we have required, and after that we have to copy this code and paste it after this bracket. And if we see the outcome of this section, this step, then you can see that if we open multiple tabs and message from any tab, it will display, or it will display in real time on another tab. So it is functional in the video. So if we do it practically by restarting our terminal by Control C and clear the terminal and writing again the not index.js, and if we restart our server and if we go to our website and refresh it, and if we write hello and press send, it is displaying send. If we duplicate our this screen and message from here, hi, how is it looks, you can see that now the message is changing, receiving as real time, and we can now have a different message from different tab bar. And you can see that on the first tab bar everything is displaying from scratch. If we include another person like a h3, then we can see one message only because it is just connected for now, and it will get the message as third message, and it will get the message as fourth message because it was the first tab which we have refreshed and where we have message. So it is just that scenario of broadcasting, and you will have successfully implemented the broadcasting feature to your application. And yeah, we have done with the broadcasting section, and now we have to go towards the next section, which is the overviewing the API. So let's go towards the next section, overview of the API. Before we go any further, let's take a quick tour of the API provided by Socket.io. So, common API, the following methods are available for both the client and the server. Basic emit, as we have seen in step 4, you can send any data to the other side with socket.emit. From the client to server, from client we send this message, and from the server it will be this. So you can see the both messages from both client and server side. How is it look? The socket emits, and on the server side you can see that the code is just looks like this, where we have to on the socket.io input and output, and we have to pass out an argument, and it will be a console.log the argument, which will be the hello. So it will be displayed in the console.log. You can send any number of argument, and all serializable uh, data structures are supported, including binary objects like array buffer, tab array, or buffer Node.js only. So from client to server, it will just look like this, any kind of data which we are putting by in type of array, and it will receive as this. It will just look like this in server side coding, and in client side this is the argument which we have passing, and it will be just looks like a buffer array. And you have a tip here, calling json.stringify on object is not needed. Socket.emit, and if we do stringify, it is a bad way now, and the good way is to just pass the arguments and the variable. We don't need to make the JSON file to stringify, and we don't have to convert the data into string. So acknowledgement events are great, but in some cases you may want a more classic request response API in Socket.io. This feature is named acknowledgements. It comes in two flavors. With a callback function, you can add a callback function as the last argument of the emit, and this callback will be called once the other side has acknowledged the event. So when we put this code, it will be called, and if it's received on the server side, it will get a response. And with a promise, the emit with a wake method provides the same functionality but return a promise, which will resolve when the other side acknowledges the event. So whenever we request an event, it will be get requested towards the our backend side, server side. If the backend side receive the event, then our event will be displayed or it will do function. So it is just a code, and you can see that it is a callback function, and the status will be okay. So caution, environments that do not support promises such as Internet Browser Explorer will need it to add a poly file or use a compiler like Babel in order to use the feature, but this is out of the scope of the tutorial. We are using Chrome browser for this tutorial. Catch all the listeners. Catch all listeners is a listeners that will be called for any incoming event. This is useful for debugging your application. So sender will be sending this code, and receiver will be getting this code, as you can see. Similar for outgoing packets like this, and server API for broadcasting. As we have seen in chapter step 5, we can broadcast an event to all the connected clients with io.emit. As we have done implemented this functionality, where we have seen that if we are connected with one server and if we open another tab and press the server URL, then we will get the exact messages which we are sending from different tabs and rooms. In socket.io jargon. A room is a arbitrary channel that sockets can join and leave. It can be used to broadcast event to a subset of the connected clients. So it is the feature of roaming, and we also have implemented. We also have to implement this, and we will see how it will implement. And when we implement this, a server which is connected with multiple tabs of same URL will get the same messages, but a server which is not connected with that, means while it is not in the same room, it will not get the same message and it will not receive any event. That's basically it. For further reference, the whole API can be found here, and server, and here for client. So let's go towards the next step, which not the next step, it is the next section, which will be the handling disconnection. So let's move towards the next section. Handling disconnection. Now let's highlight two really important properties of socket.io. First, a socket.io client is not always connected. Second, the socket.io server does not store any event. Caution: even even over a stable network, it is not possible to maintain a connection alive forever, which means that our application need to be able to synchronize the local state of the client with the global state on the server after a temporary disconnection. Not that the socket.io client will automatically try to reconnect after a small delay. However, any missed event during this disconnection period will effectively be lost from this client. In the context of our application, this implies that a disconnected client might miss some messages. If we connected with two tabs, and if we are not connected with the third tab will not receive the messages or the event from the server, which the two tabs are getting. Just looks like this, and you can see how is it will be going on our application. So we will see in the next steps how we can improve this, and let's go towards the step 6, which is the connection state recovery. So let's go. Step 6, connection state recovery. First, let's handle disconnection by pretending that there was no disconnection. This feature is called connection state recovery. This feature will temporarily store all the events that are sent by the server. Will try to restore the state of the client when it's reconnect. So restore it rooms, send any missed event. It must be enabled on the server side by just writing this code, and if we go to our server side, we have to copy this and go to our server, and here we have the index.tsx, and we have to replace it with this code, and it will recover our connection state. So if we look towards the documentation's video, then we can see that how is it working. So when we do message, it's real-time message are refreshing on multiple tabs, and when user disconnected, the user is unable to see the messages by sending by another user, but when it's connected again, it get the old messages which are in the server, which server has sent it to user, but it is inside our cache. So as you can see in the video above, real-time messages eventually delivered when the connection is re-established. The disconnection button was added for demonstration purpose. So if we look towards the code, and if we want to do the disconnection, you can also do that and copy this. And however, I am not copying this, and great, now you may ask, but this is an awesome feature, why is not the enabled by default? This is a several reason for this. It doesn't always work. For example, if a server uh, abruptly crash or gets restarted, then the client state might not be saved. It is not always possible to enable this feature when scaling up. So for that, we are not doing that stuff, and we will explore a more general absolute in the next step. And if we go to our on server on application, before that we have to go to our terminal and press Ctrl C. It will stop our server and restart our server by writing not index.js. If we do that, it will start our server. And if we go to our tab and refresh the website, and if we duplicate this tab, and we can see in the terminal there are two connections should be displayed, but it is not displaying any connection. If I write some message here, hello, and send, and if I again here, you can see that both are displaying same messages. If I press hi, and then it is also refreshed, and it's real-time messaging on both tabs. So if we open another one, then it will unable to see the previous messages, but we can message the third message. And if we do that, it will be refreshed on different screen, but the new connection will not get the old messages. This is the main feature, and yeah, in this section we have covered this feature. So let's go to our this, and we will explore a more general solution in the next step. And let's go towards the next step. The seventh step is the server delivery. Before going to further in this step, we have to go to the previous step where we have messed up something. Here is the code for disconnection, and we have to copy this button, and we have to go to index.html, and we have to paste this button below the button we have. So we have the button below this button, and just pass it here, and we have to copy this code, and we have to copy this code, and I think so we should replace it with the new one. And if I think so we have to put this here. It should not display any error, I hope. And if we refresh, stop our server and clear it, and again restart our server and go to our application and refresh it, then you can see that another button has been displayed. And if we duplicate this, and if we write some hello something, send it, you can see that it is refreshed on here also, second user. And if we disconnect this, then let's see, user has been disconnected. You can see that now it's telling us to connect. And if you go to our other side, there is nothing displaying, but I hope this stuff are working. If not working, then tell me, I will fix it out. But in my case, I think it's working, and it is disconnecting the user. Here you can see that we have the option of connect. That means our user is not connected. If we do message any stuff, then hopefully it is not displaying. That means we are disconnected. So it is disconnected. If we click on connection, then you can see that the previous messages which we have sent it, and it is now connected, so it's displaying disconnect. So this is the stuff which we have escaped, and now we have to move forward towards our seventh step. And in the seventh step, there are two common ways to synchronize the state of client upon reconnection. Either the server sends the whole state, or the clients keeps track of the last event it has proceeded. The server sends the missing pieces. So both are totally valid solution, and choosing one will depend on your use case. In this tutorial, we will go with the latter. First, let's persist the message of our chat application. Today, there are plenty of great options. We will use SQLite here. If you are not familiar with SQLite, there are plenty of tutorial available online. Like here, you can click on here, and we just have to copy. And this documentation is not for pros, so we will not doing any pro coding using SQLite. Feel free, and I will teach every stuff step by step by following the documentation, so you can also follow with documentation. And we just have to copy this and go to our terminal and stop our server and clear it, and just pass it here, and it will install the SQLite 3, and we will be able to use the SQLite in our project. And let's see, we will simply store each message in SQL table. So for that, we have to copy some code to able to create a table and able to send our stuff inside our database. So this is the code which is highlighted by our documentation, and you can see that our application is now ready and it has been installed. And now we have to fix it out something, and for that we have to copy this and paste it below this server import from socket.io. So go to the index.js and paste it here, so it will work successfully. And we also have to update some code here after the message async function. I think message async function, where is it? uh, we are not doing the only the this image, we have to replace it with this code. So await is making some error. However, I don't think it should display any error, because it's not an error, it's just by showing by our compiler. And yeah, let's see it. And for that we have to go to index.html and copy this code, and we have to paste it after script. So go to index.html and paste this. After that, we have to replace with this, and we also have to update this line of code for this function, which is giving the li. So we have to update this line 60, and the another line will be the line below the scroll height. So we have to add another line which is below the scroll height. And in index.js, we have to update any some other codes, like we have to have a condition, and it will be having a function of try catch. So copy this and into the index.html, we have to put it below this line of 54. And I hope we have completely done the stuff. And if we go to the preview of the documentation, then we can see that when we do message, the message is real-timely updating on different tabs, and when we disconnect it, we are unable to send any message, and we are also unable disabled to see any message from the other user which has been sent it. So this is the feature, and hopefully we have implemented it. Let's see, while clearing our terminal and restarting our server. So the server is telling that the await function is making some error. So let's fix it out. If we remove this await, should it not show any error? If we go to our server and clear it, and if we restart, this is working. And it's common, you have to have the knowledge that what things are making error. You can also fix it out by yourself. If we refresh our server, before that we have to restart our server because we have updated some new codes, and now we have to restart the server again. And if we refresh our website and we do messages, then you can see that we have implemented the feature which is the server delivery. And if we open another tab, we are unable to send message if we are not connected with the server. Then you can see that when we connect it, the message will be updating, which was the second one. And if we do second message, and if the first tab will be disconnected, and if we message from the another one, then the message is able to send by the second user, and it has been read by the second user, but the first user is unable to see the messages or receive the messages because it is disconnected. When we click on connected, then the previous messages which are sent it by the second user, it is now able to see on our first user screen. So this is the main feature which we have implemented. As you can see in the video above, it works both after our temporary disconnection and full page refresh. The difference with the connection state recovery feature is that a successful recovery might not need to hit your main database. It might fetch the message from the ready stream, for example. Okay, now let's talk about the client delivery. So let's move toward the next section and we will talk about the client delivery. So step 8 is the client delivery. Let's see how we can make sure that the server always receives the message sent by the client. So for information, by default Socket.io provides an at most once guarantee of delivery, also known as file and forget, which means that there will be no retry in case the message does not reach the server. So buffer events. When a client gets disconnected, any call to socket.image is buffered until reconnection. So if we look towards this video, so we can see that both servers are connected, but if one is disconnected, the message will be not sent to another tab. When connection re-established, the message will be updated on the screens. So in this video, the real-time message is buffered until the connection is re-established. This behavior might be totally sufficient for your application. However, there are few cases where a message could be lost. The connection is served while the event is being sent. The server crashes or gets restarted while processing the event. The database is temporarily not available. At least once, we can implement an at least once guarantee manually with an acknowledgement. For that, we have to put this function. So it will be redirecting. It it will be we are implementing at least one guarantee. So for that, we have to copy this code if you want to, and if you want to do the stuff. And I think we don't require this. And for this section, we have a tip that with the retries option, the order of the messages guarantees as the messages are queued and sent one by one. This is not the case with the first option. Exactly once. The problem with retries is that the server might know receive the same message multiple times, so it need a way to uniquely identify each message and only store it once in the database. Let's see how we can implement an exactly one guarantee in our shared application. We will start by assigning a unique identifier to each message on the client side. For that, we have to copy this counter and paste it inside our index.html and open the index.html. And after the script, we have to put this code, which is the declaration of a counter, and we have to copy this line of code, and we have to put after this comma, which is the auth server offset, and for that we have to put after that, and we also have to update this code after the condition of if input dot value. So go to that and put this code after that, and we have successfully done the stuff. And one thing is not required, which is this line. I hope we have to comment it because we don't require it. And for not that socket.id attribute is a random 20 character identifier which is assigned to each connection. We could also not we also have used set random values to generate a unique offset, and then we store this offset along the side the message on the server side. So for that uh, we have to copy this line of code and paste it in our index.js. So when the connection is connected, we have to paste this. So when the connection is IO is on, and it will be a socket, and it should be um, async function, I think. And let's result. We have to copy this. We have to select this all of the stuff, and before the recover stat, we have to paste it, and it will be a callback function and other stuff. And in this way the unique constant on the client offset. Feel free, if anything is not understandable for you, you can also read out the documentation, and that's why I'm doing the code while reading the documentation, and it will be helping you in the future while learning other technologies by yourself. So do not forget to acknowledge the event, or else the client will keep retrying up to retry time. So socket dot will be having this stuff, and we have to copy this, and we have to update our this function, I think, which will be socket dot message callback. It is all it is on it is the same code, so we don't have to do any stuff. And align the default guarantee at once. Most ones might be sufficient for our application, but now you know how it can be made more reliable. In the next chapter we will see how we can scale our application horizontally. So let's move toward the next section, and hopefully you have understand lots of tips and tricks, and if not, then message me down below, and I will be doing giving the reply as you want. So let's move toward the next section. So it is the last step, and it is the step 9, and if we have to scaling horizontally. Now that our application is resilient to temporary network interruption, let's see how we can horizontally scale it in order to be able to support thousands of concurrent clients. So note that horizontal scaling, also known as scaling out, means adding new server to our infrastructure to cope with new demands. Vertical scaling, also known as scaling up, means adding more resources, provide processing power, memory, storage to your existing infrastructure. So for that, we have to see how our application is working. So whenever our server emit a function, hello, for example, it will serve multiple clients. But when our server is connected with another server, the another client will be able to get the same event as we have on our first server. So, so let's install the cluster adapter, and it will be using for our this feature whenever we are we opening our application. When any user opening their application by another server, they are also able to get the same events from the first server which we are providing to them. So we have to copy this, and we have to install this package also, the cluster package, and we have to paste the code here and it will install the cluster stuff. So I think it's making some error and we have to remove that the rate before that, and it should work and it will installing, uh, I hope. And for this we have to update lots of other stuff to make our this feature applicable. So in the last we will be doing this stuff, and in this video you can see that if we open our application with the localhost 3000, 3002, 3003, 3001, everywhere our application is updating our messages in real time, and this is the main feature of the clustering and the package we are using. And I hope it should install, but it is not installing. However, I don't know why it is not installing. So I will remove the socket.io and see is it working or not. So it's still displaying some error, and it is telling that you are using a command. It is reference to blah blah blah. Then I am not understanding what are the stuff happening, and we have to see the stuff, is it working or not. And if this stuff is not working, why it is not working, I don't know. So for making it work, we have to try out another thing, which is just updating our this by changing this name to the stuff which we are looking for, which is cluster adapter. If we put here, and let's see is it working or not. If we put this, why it is not working, I don't know. But if any stuff is not working, then go to ChatGPT and ChatGPT will resolve it. And say to ChatGPT, and the at the rate is making error, and terminal is on disable to install. If we put this, and what we have done, at the rate is making error. So for fixing out this, it is providing lots of stuff, and it is providing, let's see this one, it should work because ChatGPT is giving to us. And if we put this at the rate, it is still not working. So I think we will be messed up with the last feature, and we can't able to do that. And yeah, as my approach to teaching approach is to do by yourself, and we have read it out all the documentation. And if you are the lucky one who is still connected with this tutorial to learn the socket.io, and you are just enter to the step 9 and you are also facing this problem, then this is the task for you and you have to resolve it. However, if anybody is still not getting resolved, I will give the source code for that, and don't worry. But it is the task for you if you are following this tutorial, and if you are not, then don't worry. I will be making an updated tutorial on socket.io in the future. For now, I think it's okay, and let's go to the ending notes of our this tutorial. So let's go. So in the ending, the final code will be looks like something like this, and you can copy this whole code and paste in your index.js, and I think some stuff will be not working because just because the dependency we have not installed. And feel free if you have been installed those dependencies, and you can see the source code. All the source code are available in the last ending node section, and the final client code will be something looks like this. And you can also copy this code. And for your homework, here are some ideas to improve the application. You have to broadcast a message to connect user with someone connected or disconnected. It's support for nicknames. Don't send the same message to the user that sent it. Instead, append the message directly as soon as they press enter. Add user is typing functionality, and also show who's online. Also private messaging, share your improvement. And getting this example, you can clone this example by copying this and pasting in your terminal. If you have been installed the Git, if not you have to install Git before copy and pasting this line of code to install this repository inside your local development. So the next step will be the other examples. You can see out the stuff, and these are the other stuff you can reach out and explore to learn Socket.io in more deeply. So hopefully you have understand a lots of concept in this tutorial, and if this tutorial is beneficial for you, then you have to recommend this with your friends who are needed for this, and you have to appreciate by liking, subscribing, and messaging to this tutorial. And in the future I will be updating this tutorial also. So hopefully if any recommendation you are thinking about, then you have to comment, and I will be improve the next tutorial accordingly. So thank you, good luck for your Socket.io journey. Bye bye.